Hello, my name is Koray Tuberkübür and I am the owner and founder of Holistic SEO and Digital. In this video, I will try to summarize the SEO chat that I have created on Twitter with dear Morde Oberstein. And I wanted to turn this thing into a kind of useful memory for all of us. I have asked actually 17 questions and I have created a couple of polls just for search engine optimization, and they are a little bit relevant to the anchor tags. Some of them are relevant to the semantics. Some of them are relevant to the actually how the search engine uses different ranking models like predictive ranking or relative ranking, and what actually RankLab is. So let's start. This was the initial announcement there. And RankLab is actually a kind of internal term from Google. Basically, it represents the platform that Google engineers use for generating or creating ranking algorithms. And in Google, they have actually different teams. For instance, they have a team just for understanding the fake traffic or fake clicks. They have a team just for understanding, for instance, just for the BERT, they had a team that is called Deep Rank or Deep Rank team. They also have different teams that change their members, and I believe they're a little bit autonomous at the same time. For instance, Google Rank Brain team, which is a kind of open team, to be honest. And in this case, they change their team members, but the term RankLab, it always stays. There is one Googler that you should check actually. He's not famous at all. I guess it was Alex Grushetsky. He is actually one of the first Google engineers that mentions the RankLab as an internal thing. And they have different internal terms. For instance, we say feature snippet, they say web answers. We say keyword, they say query. We say searching something, they say query session. So their terms actually help me a little bit understand the search engine further. So to keep it a little bit shorter, let's start just focusing on the things. And this is a kind of just a simple section for checking the answers. And here we have the first question. The first question says, what is the difference between query dependent and query independent ranking criteria? So in search engine ranking algorithms, actually in the website that belongs to me, and sorry for the open tabs, and I don't fix this website on purpose, by the way, you all know that. If you check this article, you will see that everything actually here focus on initial ranking and re-ranking, and I believe from different places you will see these terms more, because most of the time the SEO industry has a tendency to a little bit take things and to not credit other places. But I can tell you that this is one of the first places that you will see these terms and initial ranking and re-ranking. And in a big chunk of this article, I just explain what information foraging theory, and then I explain what are the possible re-ranking algorithms and what kind of concepts they can actually use, how they can relate things to each other, and what kind of algorithms can be used. So in this case, the query dependent and query independent ranking criteria means that some algorithms just focus on the terms and term weight calculation within the query. Some of them just focus on the query independent criteria. And here we have the answer. Query independent and query dependent and independent ranking criteria are fundamentals for ranking algorithms. A document can be relevant for a query, but a query independent factors can make it eliminated. Information retrieval score can be a factor for query dependent ranking, and page rank can be a query independent factor. So let's move on to the second question, because I want to actually popularize these questions and answers even further. So here we have another one. If the query is protein powder, and this example usually comes from Matt Digity, and he also made me remember this example all the time, I guess. Protein powder, which one would have more weight, query dependent or query independent ranking factor? So to be able to use the query dependent factors, you need a kind of high information retrieval score, or you need a high information extraction responsiveness. So there is no such a thing, information extraction score. That's why it should be called as responsiveness, because a query might be relevant to a document, but it doesn't mean that the document is actually responsive. So that query or need behind the query. So in this case, the protein powder, actually the query independent ranking criteria will be more important because we have enough level of information and document from all the competitors. So based on relative ranking, actually all the weight of these algorithms will need to change. And if you want to create a kind of SEO strategy just based on the data science, you will need to use these predictive ranking understanding. And that's why actually here somewhere I actually mention it too, predictive ranking. We will try to understand what are the possible ranking points. And here is the answer. Answer is related to the relative ranking. In the inverted index, it means that an index that the documents are already ranked and ordered. The most quality document and less quality document will have different types of scores. Thresholds are determined relatively based on threshold sources. Threshold source means that the highest quality and highest relevant or highest page ranked document. Based on that, we will create different thresholds. For protein powder, the queried independent factors will have more weight. The search intents are ordered as buying it or finding reviews or finding brand reviews, compare protein powders or how to use protein powders, what are the protein powders. This is the last one. So based on that, you all know that actually you can create different topical maps as well. Speaking of, I guess you all opened this video in the hope of the course. At the moment, actually, I have a kind of internet connection error, mistake or slowness just because I'm uploading the course videos. It takes time, people. There are more than 50 gigabytes of videos there for 40 hours. And even it is hard. And at the moment, I also work on some payment gateways. So it's coming, don't worry. And what is query processing? What is process query? Does a search engine rewrite queries? Does it generate questions from queries? In Affiliate Lab, I have created one lecture for also math. And here actually I have processed the term process query as well. You can check that. And actually here we have 34 votes and people say that yes, search engines change the queries. So it's good to know that actually the community already knows that and they always try to adjust the relevance based on that. It's a happiness for me to see. So let's dive in a little bit the concepts together. Query processing is the parsing of the query for calculating the term weights for possible search intents and activities after intent. Process query is the query's rewritten and optimized versions. The process query can be questioned. The search intents for protein powder is process version, which are mentioned here. So in this case, we also need to think about the query rewriting methodologies and also inferring entity attributes from queries, query definitions, query aspects, and there are the many different terms and concepts even from the patents, and these are important patents because all the engineers and inventors from just the query processing, they are already being used. And here we have another one. For the query X stadium, which SERP features would you think to appear more? Local map pack, images, people also teams score results, news, etc. I have put 4 results here, and it's interesting that SEOs are also a little bit hyped so quickly. They didn't know one has chosen the Google business profile. There might be 2 reasons for that. This is the new name of the Google My Business account. And the thing here is when you search for X stadium, you won't see a local map pack there because there are no 2 or 3 different stadiums with the same name. It means that they will be actually same. So in this case, there won't be a local map pack. If you would search for X stadium stores, then you would get the local map pack. That's why for malls, we have local map pack. If you have a kind of mall around the stadium, or if you have a kind of mall around not in the stadium, then yes, you can see it. But most of the time you will see a business profile panel, you might see a knowledge panel, you will definitely see an image pack. So 50% nearly of the answer here is wrong, and you can also check it from other search tools as well. Let's read the answer. The features are relevant to the search intent distribution, which is also relevant to the distributional semantics. We will process it in the course. For X stadium, query template with popularity order, entity relation refinement, knowledge panel, GBB panel, image pack, PAA, or people also ask video pack, and web results. Actually, these will be the order there. And Also, when I say video pack, I don't mean the video carousel. There will be a kind of, most probably just for the YouTube, a kind of expandable area with timestamps. Entity relation refinement means that the stadium will be connected to a theme and it will be seen in the top of the SERP page, or sorry, SERP. So how would you rank major and minor search intents for the query of home renovation? I have asked it to the community. Do it yourself or find a service. 60% says that it's actually do it yourself will be the major one. And here we have home renovation is a service seeking query for the noun renovation. Noun renovation is the query template here. You can change the home with something else. To understand the major search intent for home renovation, you need to replace the home and you need to understand others. It's about a bit lexical semantics in this context. So in the course, there are more than 15 hours of theoretical education. It won't be easy, people. If you are bored while even listening to this, probably you will die in the course. So sorry for saying that, but SEO is not that easy, and you need to understand the search engine, and it requires too much reading or thinking. So in the course, of course, there are more than 25 hours of practical lectures too, but they are connected to each other. So if you know these concepts, major or minor search intents with concrete definitions and examples, it will help you. So here we have the rest of the answer. Major search intents, find an X renovation service near me. I say that it's major because we actually see that local map pack appear there directly. Review X renovation services, how do I renovate X and cause. And usually do it yourself section comes from videos. Minor search intents, X renovation definition, differences, versus. So these will exist a little bit in maybe in the auto suggestions or maybe some query refinement areas, or maybe they will appear after third or fourth search. What is semantic distance between two queries? Okay, this is an entirely big topic. I won't be able to explain everything. Let's read the answer. Semantic distinctiveness and similarity are different. Armor can be semantically relevant but different from the sword. The distance between two queries represents how the documents need to be shaped. Semantic distance between queries is determined by edges and nodes between concepts in a graph network. So graph theory and semantic SEO or semantic networks, they are relevant. And to be able to understand the semantic distance between two things, you need to understand lexical semantics like hypernyms, hyponyms, hypernym member. To be able to understand that, you can actually check one of the articles here. Not the tokenize, not the entity recognition. The one for WordNet. Yep. I guess I couldn't find it. But I have 4 different NLTK guides here. If you check the one for just the WordNet, you will be able to see relevant sections here. And for tokenization, I actually use my entire website. You can see results in a way here, in a way that you want. For instance, these are the most used words, including stop words. Then we have most used words without stop words. Then we have used we have the adjectives that are used most, etc., etc. Try to check these things, it might help you. So what is the difference between query and lexical semantics? Query semantics rely on query co-occurrence and correlation along with interchangeability. Substitute query is relevant to this section. The lexical semantics rely on dictionary meanings. A query can have a different meaning than a dictionary definition. Two words can be irrelevant, but they can appear in queries together with no concrete reason. And that's why we also need the definition of correlated queries at the same time. And Google Correlate, it was an old tool that Google removed. That's why it was important. Due to the time deficiency, I am not able to explain everything here, but in the course, you will find everything with practical examples. But basically, query and lexical semantics are two-way different, and query semantics are more important than lexical semantics for SEO, because you will need to know how to create topical borders, and you need to understand when you should stop that section without going deeper. Can an SEO change what a search engine thinks about a concept? Can we register non-existing things into their knowledge base? Can we change brand's relevance to a concept with a positive sentiment? This section is actually about Jason Barnard directly. And if you don't follow Jason, just follow him. You will be lucky. Actually, his book is just here. It just came yesterday. I didn't start yet. but just read it. I believe you will like that. So I said yes, 3, yes, multiply with 3. A search engine learns always on. It can change opinions or recognize something new. Without search demand, documents are collected and classified. Even if someone doesn't search it, still they can continue to learn. A brand can make a knowledge domain more expanded. It can affect all other brands, topical authority, and categorical quality. Categorical quality is something else. It comes from Tristan Abstel. We can mention it later. Predictive document ranking. How to determine page rank needs per web page. How many declarations are necessary to create enough information gaps? How many pages should change for a re-ranking event? So if you want to understand how to trigger a re-ranking event, let's say Google doesn't rank your website, let's say they don't index the pages that you want, just trigger a re-evaluation. And to be able to do that, there are some certain methods that we can mention later, but if you read that 30,000 words of article or book, it's actually a book. I don't put things into the maybe bookstores, but actually most of the articles that I write, they are already books. So just try to check that article is free. Maybe that's why you don't read, because it's free. I don't know, but if you check it, you will see it. And predictive information retrieval relies on introductory sections of documents for initial relevance calculation. In the initial relevance calculation, for instance, the URLs might be important because some factors are important initially, later they are not that important. Predictive document ranking relies on query-dependent and independent factors, predetermined thresholds, remember relative ranking, and the page rank relevance and comprehensiveness thresholds should be determined. And this section is, as I said, related to the relative ranking. So page rank per web page is actually directly affecting your rankability overall. Even if you write nonsense things, still your page rank might you rank. Even if you spam, page rank might you be forgiven. And unfortunately, it's a true thing. So usually people try to, SEOs at least, they try to compare things to each other like they're enemies. They're actually complementary things. Page rank helps, semantics help, page rank, they both help to the website. And can change word order affect information retrieval score? Should results change from vision board to board vision? It shouldn't change, but it changes and there is no way to prevent it because word proximity, co-occurrence matrices, word of interest calculations, initial and central and context words will change and weight calculations will change. Even if the search intent is same, still the generated query rewritten versions, rewriting versions will change. So I know that actually sharing all this information, sometimes people tell me that you share all these things, don't you fear from a competitor or something? No, because people don't read. That's why I take this video. And I know that I have spent maybe more than 2 years just for reading patterns every day, more than 5 hours. So it's not that easy to grasp all these things. That's why I created course as 40 hours. And I don't have that kind of fear. And I would like to learn from other people. I always learn from other people actually, but imagine that there are some other people besides just Pislavsky or Dave Davies, and they also process these things and they also implement and they also create resources. It will be fun to see it, and I will be happy to see it, to be honest. So maybe in the future, I hope. And which one is more important, indigenous or exogenous ranking factors? Internal ranking factors. Okay, I have written wrong. Sorry, I mean external here, and no one said that. Everyone, I guess they guessed, but anyway. So it depends. The direction of the Google search engine is from exogenous ranking factors to the indigenous ranking factors. Why? Because it is more collaboratable, controllable, and manipulation possibility is harder. Query can be sent, can be seen from the content better rather than external link flow, because we can manipulate page rank so easily, but you can't manipulate entire overall site quality. You need to be honest there. So it's easier for search engine, but at the same time, if there are too much similar content to each other, again, they will need to use page rank, or they will need to use historical data or brand value or brand authority or user generated content from other sections. Entity oriented search is not just about websites. They rank entities, web entities. Your Facebook page can affect rankings. It can affect your authority or your prestige or other pages or other platforms. And since I read the history of SEO, during 2011, actually, we have seen lots of examples that We have seen lots of examples that actually Facebook pages were affecting the rankings, and it's not that old. You know, the new generation SEOs, I am also new generation SEO. I have just 7 years of experience, but we forget things. And it's so sad. Whenever I check the old posts, I see that actually we talk about the same thing, we ask the same questions, and we are always hyped. So I don't know why it happens. But I guess we don't read history or our past. That's why it happens. Okay, which order is better for external anchor text? A backlink related question here. Branding, generic, branded, 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 generic, and generic, branded, and branded. So imagine that you want to create a backlink campaign and you don't want to use your brand name directly. So in this case, you can start from the generic and then you can move on to the branded and then you can continue again from the branded only, or you can unite them. I have created 2 samples here. If there is a high level of content production, choose B. Go with branded, then branded and generic. If there is not enough content, choose C and consolidate page rank for higher historical data earlier. In other words, rank for a couple of things, use that authority to reflect others. Should we restrict the internal link count within the main content? Most say yes, we should and we can. Some of them say no, we shouldn't but we can. Some say we shouldn't and also we can't. I believe this version, the third option, I believe they work with big companies, corporate companies, because there, unfortunately, it's so hard to be an SEO and convince people. I know it from Spotify and other places like Airbnb or Trainio. It's really hard. They always pretend like they care about the SEO, but they just care about money, not the SEO actually. They see it as a tool. I love SEO, but I know that their perspective is also a little bit logical. But at the same time, they are not willing to do the work, mostly. Yes, every internal link will divide the page rank while diluting the main purpose of the content. According to the internal link count, the content's length purpose can change from an article to the hub type content. We should talk about hilltop algorithm a little bit there. Even if Google doesn't use it, it actually reflects a good possibility. Does internal link position matter? Most say yes. And here I say, for crawling, no. For page rank flow, yes. For relevance, again, yes. And there are a couple of more things there actually. For navigation, yes. For instance, I could add that too. Most say, again, yes, with 85%. So 14th question, what is the similarity threshold? Why it is important for SEO? If you do experiments with duplicate content, it's really important. Similarity threshold is to determine whether 2 documents are similar enough or not. If 2 documents are too similar to each other, one of them will be canonical or representative. Search engines can cluster documents and choose one of them cross-domain canonical as representative content. Being shadowed by another source can be seen during broad core algorithm updates due to this. If you see that all of your queries, all of your feature snippets go another source, it means that you are shadowed. We can explain it maybe later too. I can show some Search Console examples for that. Do you think that the search engine optimization is harder than programming or not? Most say no, and I strongly disagree. I am able to program things. When I press the enter, it works. In SEO, it's not like that. You need to read maybe thousands of pages. You need to understand many different things. At least for holistic SEO, definitely holistic SEO is harder. If you talk about just traditional SEO, like write, link, and leave, it's not that hard. But if you want to do everything perfect, if you want to increase all the potential, if you want to use every possibility or every PowerPoint of the SEO, then it's definitely harder. This is an opinion-based question, yes. For me, SEO is harder than coding and programming because SEO also involves programming. And there is no school for SEO. Search engines do not give what they do and what you should do. Results come 6 months later. In programming, everything works in 5 seconds. With clear documentation, SEO is harder than development because we don't even have a proper documentation. Everything is really harder. It gets harder because, to be honest, Google also hides many things and they are right to hide them because we will exploit things. In programming, it's not like that. You have many tutorials. And in SEO, one thing can work today, tomorrow it won't work. And one thing can work even morning, but it can stop at the night. And it can work for one side and it might not work for another side. So it's definitely harder. It's sometimes like seeking a black cat in the darkness. That's why I read patterns. They show me the way. What would you change in the Google's algorithm? What would you like to tell John Mueller? How do you feel about small websites? Are you happy with non-given voice search data? Or should Google try to keep users on SERP? Should we pay for these by Google? So this is my answer. Thank you, John Mueller, for every question that actually he answers, because he always open SEO Hangouts even if it is Christmas. So he actually spends his own time for doing this. So we have to thank him. And at the same time, from my point of view, I would like to see voice search data definitely, because we don't have clicks there, but we have selections. We can talk about what a selection is later. I have actually processed all of these things in the course. I know Google sends more traffic to the websites every year, but the percentage gets smaller too. We take more traffic from Google because internet user count and internet usage rate actually increases. And this is a thank you note here. I will publish all these questions. Later I will put it into the add-on at the end of the website. If you like these type of questions, if you like these type of answers, and if you like these type of videos, just try to comment. I actually read all of the comments, even if I don't have time to answer them. I will try to add more videos, more scientific videos. I will try to create some videos for some of my old SEO case studies or new ones as well, because I know that some of you don't like reading. And I also know that some of you will find these things boring, but if you love search engines, if you love information retrieval and extraction, and if you actually love reading the minds of the search engines and optimizing websites, if you love solving the puzzles, I believe we will be able to create a kind of baseline here. I've also think to add some programming related things too. So you will see the article now, and soon, very soon, I will launch the course. I try to fix every or UX error or other things, and believe me, it will be better to publish it later than now, because this way you will be able to benefit it even further. And I believe that there will be lots of useful examples there. But remember the relative ranking here. If you use semantic SEO in a proper way, and also if your competitor uses it in a proper way, you will have to fight for every single argument, declaration, triple, accuracy signal, or accuracy directly. You will need to order the facts, that you will need to optimize the sentences, even sentence length. That's why I suggest you to check this NLTK. After a point, it will show you the way. And I can add that programming section to the course too. I didn't add anything to the relevant to the programming, because most of the time in the course also you will see I have just added natural improvising videos there. And I don't use tools. I just use my mind. In Affiliate Lab also you will be able to see it. I take random articles from Wikipedia, and then I try to create a kind of simple strategy in just under 10 minutes. So it's easy to do. You should just trust yourself a little bit. But at the same time, remember that if your competitor also does the same, you will need to go more granular. You will need to add more detail. You will need to calculate every teeny tiny detail there. You will need to place the links carefully. You will need to calculate the link distance, or you will need to calculate the semantic distance and relevance, and also all of the related search activities. So that's why you need this course. And I will show a kind of framework in the course, and I will call it Core's framework. And I believe that that conceptualization will help you to remember it better, because in the future, I believe you will be able to use this strategy as a kind of even tradition. And I use it many years. It worked really, really well. Just remember that relative ranking is a thing, and you will always need to go better and better to be able to beat your competitors, or you will need to find blue oceans. So, people, you will see the article, and that's it. Thanks for listening.